I have been thinking as to what I'm going to say today and how to reflect on the spirit of what we're going through as a family. And also, when I look around in the church and I see the support that everyone is showing by being here, and all those who are not able to be here, but through their prayers and through many ways, they have made known their love for us. And reflecting very personally, obviously, in the death of my sister Annie, and how that affects our love for God, and also how it changes our love for her. It transforms it to that experience that she has undergone. I thank Bishop Aguirre for being with us today, and all the priests who come have shown the support to our family. But listening to the readings of the Gospel today, especially to the last sentence of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew that we just heard, whatever you did for one of these brothers of mine, you did for me. It is my reflection that it reflects the life of my sister Annie. Creo que todos nos podríamos asegurar de que las últimas palabras del Evangelio que acabamos de escuchar reflejan la vida de mi hermana Annie. Yo les aseguro, cuando lo hicieron con el más insignificante de mis hermanos, conmigo lo hicieron. Y se refiere el Señor a aquellos que son preparados y destinados para estar a su derecha, aquellos que el Señor llama para que estén con ellos. You know, first, our Lord is speaking directly to those who are the just, who are seated at His right. ¿Y qué significa ser justo ante los ojos de Dios? Y para nosotros que vivimos este dolor, ¿qué significa ser justo? ¿De qué manera es que el Señor nos ve y de qué manera el Señor nos invita a vivir la justicia de Él? Y en la primera lectura del libro de la sabiduría nos dice el Señor lo mismo que le podría decir a nuestra hermana Annie: los justos están en paz, reflejando las palabras que meditamos hace unos días en el velorio el jueves en la noche. Looking at the life of Annie, we can say the words of the Book of Wisdom: the just are in peace. Y a lo mejor para nosotros se nos hace difícil comprender el sufrimiento y la justicia. ¿Cómo es que los dos son compatibles? ¿Cómo es que Dios nos llama a la santidad? Dios nos invita a seguirlo, y al mismo tiempo parece que el dolor y el sufrimiento van acompañados de ser discípulos de Jesús. Maybe for some of us it might be hard to understand. How is it that justice or holiness that God calls us for is often accompanied by suffering, illness, and sometimes misfortune? But I think the Book of Wisdom today brings to light as to the reason for suffering, especially on those who follow the Lord. Y creo que el libro de la sabiduría el día de hoy nos da una idea de lo que es lo que significa el sufrimiento, especialmente aquellos que siguen a Dios y que tratan de vivir el Evangelio de nuestro Señor. Los recuerdos de Annie son muchos, y creo que cada uno de nosotros tiene sus momentos, pero algo que podemos llevar con nuestro corazón es saber el espíritu y el ímpetu que tenía ella por su devoción a Dios, y su amor y su piedad a Dios, su preocupación de hacer lo que Dios manda, como decía ella, su devoción al ángel de la guarda, su devoción al divino niño, su devoción al rosario y a las novenas, de propagar y que otras personas tuvieran la misma devoción a nuestro Señor. Obviamente el Señor había llamado desde hace mucho a Annie a ser discípula de Jesús. It is obvious by looking at the life of Annie that her devotion to the Lord and her closeness with God, especially to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, to the divine child Jesus, to devotion to our guardian angel, the novenas, and very specifically to Our Lady of Perpetual Help, was the hallmarks of her spiritual life, a relationship that she developed with the Lord, but also a relationship that shows us that God, from an early age, had called her to be a disciple of Jesus. And her life of discipleship took many forms during her life. La vida de discípula de la Annie tomó muchas formas durante su vida. I only remember when I was a little boy, they used to think that Annie and I were twins. And it was good for her because it made her look 2 years younger. But often she will say, we're twins. And I remember that I was the quick one to say, no, we're not, to try to clarify. But I remember one morning, she wondering why I was running late for school. And she came over and I told her my bed is not made. And she said, I'll make your bed. And very often she will make my bed in the morning. And that's my first glimpse when I was a little boy of thinking how charitable she was, even with me, who was kind of spoiled. And she was kind of giving me into that spoiledness. But it shows the spirit that she had from early childhood of someone who had a very tender heart. If something I remember, she was the heart. She always felt something. Sometimes joy, sometimes she felt pain, sometimes her heart was broken, and many times she felt anger. And those who know her, we know that she had a strong character. But it was part of who she was. And those parts was part of her gift of life. And trying to channel that zeal that she had to serve the Lord. She has very few things from God. And I can say that when I talked to her in many occasions, when we spoke not only as brother and sister, but also as a priest, it was always this desire in her heart to try to assimilate what is it that God wanted from her and how can she give something to the Lord. Siempre en su vida Annie se preocupaba por servir a Dios y ver qué es lo que Dios tenía planeado por ella, pero en cambio pedía muy poco de Dios. Nunca pedía grandes cosas, pedía que el Señor le hiciera favores. And I remember in her desire to one day be married and enter into that discipleship with the Lord, she did everything possible to ask the Lord, Lord, grant me a good husband. And for some reason, the Lord always listened to her prayers. Dios siempre le concedía a ella lo que ella pedía. Cuando le pidió al Señor un buen esposo, le dio un buen esposo. Y recuerdo aquel día en esta misma iglesia, en el año 2002, en que Dan y Annie dieron sus vidas aquí ante este mismo altar. She always prayed for a good husband, and the Lord gave her one. And I want to thank Dan. And I remember that day when you and Annie married here. And I was sitting here, standing actually. And I remember very clearly the words I told you. It's my sister. Take care of her. I want to thank you on behalf of my family for taking care of her all the way to that moment. Y la invitación del Señor continúa en el Evangelio cuando nos dice, vengan benditos de mi Padre, tomen la posesión del reino preparado para ustedes desde la creación del mundo. She also asked the Lord for a daughter, and the Lord gave her a daughter, a beautiful daughter. Ana Cristina. Dios se la dio. It's interesting how in the simplicity of her life and in her spiritual life, whenever she prayed, the Lord granted her. Why? Because she wanted to follow the Lord.